Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then, my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it.
It's the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Welcome back, folks. Joining us now, Lord Conrad Black. He is a Canadian-born British peer, former publisher of the London Daily Telegraph, The Spectator, the Chicago Sun-Times, the Jerusalem Post, and founder of Canada's National Post. He is also an acclaimed author and biographer. To my mind, he has written the definitive biography of Richard Nixon. He has also written what I think is the best biography of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I always enjoyed James McGregor Burns' The Lion and the Fox prior to the publication of Lord Black's book. And he's written a terrific book on Donald Trump. He is an erudite and astute observer of the world scene, and he very much understands America as well as Canada. And I'm honored to have him today on the Roger Stone Show. Lord Black, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Roger, and thank you for your very generous introduction. I hardly recognize myself, but that doesn't make it any less appreciated.
Well, I appreciate your being with us today because what's happening in America is unlike anything I have ever seen. As a veteran of 13 national presidential campaigns, I mean, growing up outside New York City, I never dreamed that I would work for 4 presidents and meet 6 presidents. But what seems to be transpiring today in a New York courtroom, in the Manhattan courtroom, is unlike anything I have ever seen, particularly in the year of a presidential election. A candidate who is the presumptive Republican nominee, one of only 2 men in history to lock up the Republican presidential nomination 3 times, Donald Trump, is accused in a trial in which there doesn't actually seem to be any crime. What is your take on what's going on before our very eyes?
Pretty much the same as yours, Roger. I think it is, for a variety of complicated reasons, it is something that has not occurred in American history before. It's well known and often mentioned that no occupant of the office of president has ever been indicted for a crime. But it is such a ludicrous trial. It's so contemptible in terms of its legal claims, and so outrageous, and as well as completely incompetent in the way the prosecution is conducting it, that it indicates a desperation and a total evaporation of any integrity on the part of the people responsible. I mean, this is what is unique. I believe no American major political party has ever scraped the barrel so far that it thought that the only chance it had of victory was to corrupt and pervert the justice system into a method of disabling or eliminating its opponent. And that's what the Democrats have done. And it is clearly the lawfare which they thought, going back to the famous exchange of emails between Lisa Page and Peter Strzok they thought was their Trump, and not to make a terrible pun, Trump card, a winning card. It's blown up in their faces. It's a disaster for them, as it deserves to be. And to me, it is the sign of the utter bankruptcy of the old bipartisan, log-rolling, back-scratching society in Washington that gave the country good government for a long time, but has broken down badly and lost the public's confidence and demonstrates every day why it doesn't deserve that confidence.
No, I think you're exactly right. Look, there used to be a certain comity in politics when I lived in Washington, which was many decades ago now. I had friends who were Democrat political operatives and pollsters and strategists, and they were very, very smart, capable people. Sometimes we beat them. Sometimes they beat us. We drank together, we ate together, we teased each other. Those days, of course, are gone. Today, your political opponents want to lock you up. They want to bankrupt your family. They would like you to die in prison. It is brought a brutality and the politics of personal destruction to an unacceptable level, if you ask me. I think that there was a miscalculation from the very beginning. The reason why the Biden administration, as I kind of said in my opening, has orchestrated this entire multi-state and federal tsunami of lawfare against Donald Trump in the fourth year of Joe Biden's presidency is because they didn't expect him to be able to get renominated. They really did not believe that they would ever be where they are today, which is to say that Trump now maintaining a marginal lead in every swing state as well as nationally. And there are now several electoral college combinations that would put him over the top. He actually, if everything goes as it has done traditionally, he would be, if the election were held today, and if it was an honest, fair, transparent election, he would be tantalizingly close to the 270 electoral votes necessary, and that's without knowing the results in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think that's right. I take it one step further. I think the two things that they miscalculated. One is the one you just said. They thought They thought Trump was like a dreadful meteor that had passed and gone and would not be seen again, and they particularly thought that after January 6th because they never ceased to try and build that up as a virtual domestic version of 9/11. A monstrous attempt to conduct an insurrection and overthrow the government, which was nothing of the kind, of course, and Trump had nothing to do with it anyway. And in addition, they didn't think that they would have such a weak candidate themselves. In all of the major policy areas, this administration is seriously underwater, whether it's inflation, immigration, crime, the terrors of their absurd, exaggerated fixation on the environment, at least their interpretation of the environment, and the shambles in the world, the breakdown of order and the outbreak of wars and so forth. And in all of these things, they're getting tanked in the polls for good reason, because the performance of the administration has been poor. And they assume, this is a reasonable thing, I suppose, that they would be in good standing with the voters with a very presentable candidate, and that is not the case. So they partly boxed themselves into this by their own poor performance in office, and partly they underestimated their opponent, which is always a dangerous thing to do.
Let me pose a question to you that President Trump has asked me a number of times. It's a historical question, but one on which you would have a unique viewpoint. Trump has said to me several times that, looking at it in retrospect, he thinks that President Nixon made a mistake in resigning, that he should have fought it out. I have counter-argued that with a monolithic media at the time, with our mass communications being controlled by 3 television networks and major news magazines like Newsweek and Time and life and fortune and look, all of them kind of gone by the wayside now. And before the rise of any national newspapers, so while the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal are influential, they're still not national newspapers, nationalized by the digitalization of our society. Do you think, without the internet, do you think Nixon could have survived? Or conversely, had we had an internet there, giving Nixon a platform to counterattack the attacks on him regarding Watergate, that he might have survived?
I think that the first thing to note is that even 50 years after Watergate and almost 50 years since he retired from the White House, there is still no probative evidence that he himself committed a crime. And therefore, I think he was, in fact, if in a fair hearing, he would be exonerated in an impeachment trial. That is to say, they wouldn't get 2/3 of the Senate vote. Secondly, people even today tend, I mean, you don't and I don't, but, we studied it and you were part of that administration. Don't realize what an outstanding president he was and how much he achieved. So I think if he just handled it slightly differently, he would have come through it. Now, Donald Trump may be right. I think that they had nothing more bad to come out, and if he had actually put together a serious defense himself and explained what he accomplished, explained what he had done, I mean, I think he might have been able to hang on. Now, he was, as you know, a very patriotic man. There had not been an impeachment of a president for over a century, Andrew Johnson, which was a spurious occasion as well. And he didn't want to put the country to an ordeal like that and the presidency to that indignity. But I think he could have survived. But if he just played it a little differently, I don't mean destroy the tapes. I don't mean all sorts of things like that. If he just had been a little more careful about what he said publicly, so that his opponents who were trying to tear him down, it didn't have so much ammunition to destroy his political capital. I think it wouldn't have got anywhere near where it did. It's a tragedy that it happened. I think President Ford was a very good man and did a good job, but and he had those strong people with him, Henry Kissinger and Bill Simon and Nelson Rockefeller and others. But it's a tragedy what happened to Mr. Nixon. But it is, I think, becoming recognized as that. He was an outstanding president.
I ask you this, obviously, because I think you have written the definitive biography of Richard Nixon. But you'll recall, even when he was trying to defend himself, he had a press conference where he said, the American people have a right to know whether their president is a crook. Well, I am not a crook. That was turned against him. Rather than working in his defense, he was mocked for saying it. And of course, again, no internet in which you can then go and expand or qualify or clarify your view and continue on the counter attack.
Right. And one of the few things that he is never accused of is mishandling money for his own benefit. He didn't. He was in President Eisenhower's expression, or at the time he said it, candidate Eisenhower, as clean as a hound's tooth.
Here in America, work is in trouble. We've offshored our manufacturing, sent away good jobs, and lost so much ability to make things. American Giant is a company that's pushing back against this tide. They make high-quality clothing, sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more right here in the USA. Visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com. Promo code STAPLE20.
Let us move to politics today. I have to ask this question because I follow it online, but Justin Trudeau seems to be running an authoritarian government in Canada. Canada, which is theoretically a democracy, seems to be becoming more and more of a dictatorship, or at least an authoritarian setup. What are the prospects here for Canadian elections?
Oh, I think Justin's had it. I've known him since he was a very young man. I knew his father quite well, who was the prime minister. And the last person in this country to win 4 consecutive elections was a man named Wilfrid Laurier. He was a great prime minister, and that was more than a century ago. And Justin has run out of steam. It's not been a good government. He's personally a very nice man, but it's not been a good government. And he's had it, and all the polls show that. The question is, does he serve to the end, or does he bring in somebody to take the bullet for him at the end, like his father did? But his father was quite a substantial prime minister, and did defeat the Quebec separatists, which was his chief cause. But this American view that Canada is a tentative democracy is exaggerated. You've had a couple of incidents. There was great publicity of the truckers, the drive of the truckers on Ottawa, and the dispersal of them. But bear in mind, nobody was hurt in that. There were, in my opinion, abuses of power by the government, and they had no business invoking emergency legislation as they did. But keep in mind that while they had a whitewash review, that has been overturned by the courts. And the courts have found, the high court in this country, that the government, Justin Trudeau's government, illegally invoked the Emergencies Act. That doesn't happen in a country that is not a democracy. And you've got his awful political correctness in some ways, but it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, no one's tampering with elections. I mean, frankly, Roger, I say to my American friends, you're the people indicting the leader of the opposition. You're the people who corrupted the intelligence service and the federal police to stage that ludicrous hoax of the Russian collusion argument, phony impeachments, and these absolutely spurious indictments of the likely next president and the immediate past president. We have never done anything like that. I mean, we both countries and all countries that are democracies have to be, vigilant and zealous in guarding the democracy. And the U.S. and Canada have both, been a little shoddy in that. But there's no problem with democracy in this country. There is an almost unanimous consensus for democracy, and there's very little agitation against the country. I mean, to me, the most distasteful aspect of the unrest in the United States is this relatively strong group of people who hate America, and that's dangerous. And we don't have that here. I mean, everybody thinks it's a nice country. They just want to pull it one way or another. But it's Canada, everything's between the 30-yard lines. Don't worry about democracy here.
That's very encouraging. Since you're one of the few guests I have who has the ability to do this, let me also ask you for a quick assessment of the current state of British politics.
Very, very discouraging. The Conservative Party has produced 5 leaders in 8 years, and it's been a series of fiascos. Cameron got it completely wrong on Brexit, and he did the honorable thing and left. Theresa May had a mandate to take Britain out of Europe and interpreted it as a mandate to keep Britain in Europe while calling it departure. That was bound to fail. It failed. It was a complete fiasco. Boris Johnson, a friend of mine, former employee of mine, he got Brexit done. He was very good on Ukraine, got them a powerful majority in his election, but then completely mismanaged the office and lost the trust of the House of Commons, including his own party. That ended in a terrible fiasco. And the man they have now, I do not know. He's the first British prime minister in a long time I've not known, but I mean the first since Harold Macmillan. But it's not working well at all, and the Labour Party has gone back to before Tony Blair. It's really quite a left-wing party again. And the Conservative Party has gone back to before Thatcher, and it's really not a Conservative Party. So I think what we're going to have to do is suffer through one term of the Labour Party, get yet another leader in the Conservative Party. And in British history, the only Labour leader who managed to win 2 consecutive full terms was Tony Blair. And they're not going to do that again. All the others, whether it's Ramsay MacDonald or Clement Attlee or even Harold Wilson, they couldn't get 2 consecutive terms. Wilson got 2 terms, but Heath was in between them. Here, I think we'll have Starmer. It'll be a complete shambles, but we'll then have a return to proper Conservative government like I think we're going to have in the United States at the end of this year and in Canada next year. So short-term bad, present bad, but medium-term forward good. I mean, Britain will learn its lesson. It always takes on board and reminds itself of just how awful the Labour Party is after one term.
All right, I'm afraid we are out of time. I want to thank my friend Lord Conrad Black for joining us today on the Roger Stone Show. Lord Black, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Roger. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
God bless you.